Ursa Major is a constellation located in the second quadrant of the Northern Hemisphere. The name Ursa Major translates to the Great Bear. Alioth is the brightest star that makes up the constellation Ursa Major. It is 81 light-years away, with an apparent magnitude of 1.76 and an absolute magnitude of -0.22. Dubhe is the second brightest star in the constellation. It is 124 light-years away, with an apparent magnitude of 1.81 and an absolute magnitude of -1.09. Dubhe is also the most developed out of these 5 brightest stars. It has reached the point of instability and begun to swell, becoming a giant in the process. Alkaid is the third brightest star in the constellation. It is 101 light-years away, with an apparent magnitude of 1.85 and an absolute magnitude of -0.6. Mizar is the fourth brightest star in the constellation. It is 78 light-years away, with an apparent magnitude of 2.23 and an absolute magnitude of 0.33. Finally, Merak is the fifth brightest star in the constellation. It is 79 light-years away, with an apparent magnitude of 2.34 and an absolute magnitude of 0.41. Merak is the least developed of these 5 brightest stars. It is the least progressed through the main sequence life cycle. Ursa Major is one of the most well-known constellations, mainly because the asterism known as the Big Dipper is located within this constellation. Many people confuse the Big Dipper of being its own constellation, but it is only a piece of the puzzle, so to speak. Coincidentally, these 5 brightest stars we just discussed are 5 of the 7 stars that make up the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is one of the first objects that children learn to observe in the sky, therefore making Ursa Major one of the most observed constellations in the sky, whether or not they even realize it. Ursa Major is only visible in the Northern Hemisphere and sets towards the end of October. Therefore, even in the Northern Hemisphere, you can only view the Big Dipper in the spring, summer, and the majority of the fall seasons. This is ironic seeing as bears hibernate in the winter. Of the 88 recognized constellations, 12 are members of the zodiac. Ursa Major is not one of them. It is, however, a member of the Ursa Major family of constellations, along with Ursa Minor, Corona Borealis, Draco, and others. Many stories have been passed down from generation to generation about the Great Bear. A collection of myths over Ursa Major have come from varying cultures, such as Chinese, German, Irish, and several more. Because Ursa Major is perceived by human beings as looking like a great bear, many of these mythologies follow this story. The Mimic and Iroquois Indians share the same tale about the Big Bear. According to their story, the constellation depicts the picture of a bear being pursued by 7 hunters. As autumn progresses, we lose 4 of the 7 hunters, leaving only 3 to continue the fight. The closest star to the bear is claimed to represent the hunter with an arrow. The second and third stars represent another hunter and a pot that the bear will be cooked in. This system of stars is known as Mizar and Alcor. Eventually, the bear loses the battle and is left to be eaten. It is said that the skeleton remains are traveling through the sky on its back during winter. During the following spring, a new bear leaves the den, and the eternal hunt continues. Greek mythology tells the story of Zeus having an affair with a nymph named Callisto, who was the servant of Artemis. Artemis was the goddess of light and was a hunter who took a vow of purity. Artemis demanded that all her nymphs remain pure as well. Upon hearing of Callisto's affair with Zeus, Artemis dismissed Callisto as her servant for being impure. 9 months later, Callisto gave birth to a boy and named him Arcas. Zeus's wife, Hera, was very jealous and turned Callisto into a bear that soon after escaped into the forest. As Arcas grew older, he became a hunter. While Arcas was hunting one day, Callisto heard Arcas's voice and began to run towards the sound. Arcas saw the bear and did not know that the bear was really his mother, and he began to slay her. Zeus intervened and threw Callisto and Arcas both into the sky as a big and little bear, hence the Big and Little Dipper. The reason why the asterism's tails are so long is because Zeus picked both of them up by their tails and swung them around and around before releasing them into the sky. There are many pop culture references based on this well-known constellation. Rock band Third Eye Blind released an album in 2009 titled Ursa Major. Rock band Thrice released an album in 2011 titled Major Minor, which is symbolic of the Ursa Major and Ursa Minor constellations. The famous Big Dipper is a valuable piece to this constellation. Vincent van Gogh created the masterpiece Starry Night over the Rhone. This beautiful creation was brought into existence in September of 1888. The painting illustrates the beautiful Rhone River and the amazing asterism, the Big Dipper. An open cluster is one with many stars that are still forming, so they are relatively young in age compared to other stars and galaxies. One open cluster within Ursa Major is Colander 285. It encompasses most of the constellations itself while leaving out very little. It also includes other constellations within the cluster. While this cluster is 75 light-years away, it is still the closest open cluster to our galaxy. 30 light-years long by 18 light-years wide, this cluster includes more than 100 stars and is considered a moving cluster. Palomar 4 was discovered in 1949 by Edwin Hubble and is the second most distant globular cluster in the Milky Way. It resides at the edge of our galaxy. Palomar 4 is 1.3 arc-minutes in size and is 356,000 light-years away from us. As you look at the constellation, Palomar is located just below the backmost leg. NGC 188 is the northernmost and oldest open star cluster that can be seen from Earth. The cluster contains about 130 stars and is about 5,000 light-years away. It is located in the Cepheus and is made up of mostly blue giant stars.